You are going to begin by adding a cube, shearing the top face, and moving the bottom one up. Then, go into Sculpt mode, enable Dino Topo, and go to Grab. Add a bunch of detail all over the faces to resemble snow, and go back to Object mode. Then, add a cylinder, change its vertices to 8, and rotate it till it's horizontal. Then rotate it again so one of the faces is facing straight down. Now elongate it for it to look like a log, and start stacking it on top of each other until you have 4 logs. Now elongate and duplicate them, and rotate that second pair so you have an L shape. Now duplicate and rotate this in order to form a cube. Now go to front view, subdivide the front logs a bunch of times, and delete faces in the shape of a door several times until you have no faces in the front part of the logs. This is where our door was gonna be. Now select the edges of the now hollow logs with Alt, and click F to fill the faces. And do this for all the logs that you just deleted faces from. There you go. Now select the log, duplicate it, separate it by selection, and move it up. Now go to top view, duplicate this log and move it to the back, and make sure that all logs align with each other. Now go to side view and add 2 more logs in the sides that are missing the 5th log, in order for your cabin to have 4 equal walls. Now we're gonna make the door. So go to front view and add a plane and scale it so it fills the hole you just made. Now create your doorknob by adding a sphere, scaling it down and positioning it in the right place. Now we're gonna create the roof. So duplicate the top log again for reference and scale it up. Add a plane and scale it so it covers half of the roof and position it right above the log you just added. Now rotate it 45 degrees and make sure it covers half of the cabin. Then duplicate and mirror it and make sure you have no space between the 2 planks. Now select both of them and duplicate them to the side. Hold Ctrl R to fill the roof and make sure it's aligned with the cabin. Now select all the planks, go to Object, Transform, Randomize Transform, and randomize the rotation by 2, not 1 degrees. Now yet again, select all of them and extrude them in the set. Cover the top part of the cabin with duplicated logs and we'll make sure that they only appear under the roof. In order to do this, we'll scale the logs down and shear the faces in order for the faces to be at the same angle as the roof. Because these logs are subdivided, you'll have to make sure to dissolve edges or move them to the side. Now make sure it's not seen above the roof, and do the same with the rest of the logs. Now select all of these, join them in the middle, and duplicate them to the back wall of the cabin. Now we only need to add colors, so go to Materials, New Material, call it Wood, and make it a chocolate dark brown. And use the same material for all the logs. Now select the ceiling, go to Materials, call it Light Wood, and make it a lighter chocolate dark brown. Now select the same material for the door, and for the doorknob, just make a black material. Now parent all loose objects to the main cabin. Once this is ready, we're gonna go to Sculpt mode to add a little bit of detail. So select the Dino Topo again, but this time choose Scrap as your tool, and scrap all the ceiling so it looks old and rusty. Once this is ready, we're gonna unhide our mountain, scale it to the appropriate size compared to the cabin, and move the cabin plus rotate it so it looks nicely in the corner, in the middle of the mountain. Now we're gonna make the pine trees, so add a cylinder, make it wood colored, and add a few cones on top. Join them, make a new material for them, dark green. Now add a bunch of them around the mountain with different rotations and scales. You can use Randomize Transform. Now we're gonna make the ski pole, so add a cylinder and make it tiny and black. Add a plane next to it, rotate it and scale it to its appropriate size, and make it red. Now join these together and duplicate a bunch of them around the mountain in a straightish line, so you have like a skiing path going down the hill. It's looking nice now, but we still need the ski lift. So add a cylinder and make it very tall. Color it red, and add a second cylinder on the bottom, slightly wider than your initial cylinder, and color it red, and parent it to the initial cylinder. Now add a cube, move it to the top, and center it in the middle of the frame. Flatten it and make it wide to represent the ski lift. Now go to side view and add a curve to represent the cable. Scale and edit these points of the curve until you have the optimal shape of a cable that you would like. This might take a little bit of time, but it's worth it for the next step. Now put this curve on one side and duplicate another to the other. Now you're gonna add a new cylinder. Make it tiny and black. go to modifiers and add a curve modifier. And before choosing a target, move it all the way down so it's at the same position as the curves. Now choose one of the curves as your target and make sure it's aligned in all directions. Make sure the orientation is right and add an array modifier before your curve modifier. And once the factor is in the right direction with the right spacing, increase the count until you cover the whole curve. Now duplicate this object. Move it in the X direction, which will look like the Z direction because of your current target. But don't worry, just select the other curve as your target and finish the alignment. Now you're almost ready, but you need to make the chairs. So add another plane and frame it, and scale it to the appropriate size. Now center it under your curve. Duplicate and rotate the duplicate so it's vertical. Move it to the back, rotate it 25 degrees in the X, and move it a bit back again. Now add a second curve, go to side view and align the points perfectly with the chair. Now make sure it's aligned in all directions, so you have a good, nice curve afterwards. And extrude it first to the top side of the chair, and then somewhere in the middle, higher above the chair. This will be your connection point to the cable. Give it a nice curve, and start doing the same on the other side from top to bottom. Now go to side view and simply align all these vertices again. Once it's ready, you're gonna duplicate your initial object covering the other curve and move it down. You're gonna change the target to your new curve and align it with your new curve until it's perfectly in place. And once it is, simply make sure to increase the count until it covers the whole curve. It's looking very nice and we're almost done. Now color the seats red and duplicate and rotate this chair to the other side. Make sure to include the curve. Now position these chairs so they align with the cable. And once you have enough chairs, you're gonna add and adjust a camera so you cover the whole scene. Now we're gonna add lighting, so go to World, New, select the color and choose Sky Texture. Now go to Render Display, making sure Cycles is your render engine, and adjust the values until you have a nice sunset, particularly the sun elevation and rotation. Now we'll make a sphere. So add a sphere, making sure it's centered and covering the whole mountain. Shade it smooth. Go to Material, add a new material and increase the transmission to 1, decrease the roughness to 0, and now your challenge is to add this red object at the bottom. Once you do, add a surface on the bottom with whatever texture you want, and make sure the camera captures the whole scene, and hit render. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed and have a good rest of your day.